Well, hey, good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Happy first Friday, and welcome to the Instructor Insights, new series by WZ that will be presented every first Friday of the month. It's great to see people here checking in. I want to say hi. So awesome to have a couple of you here live with me this morning. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about today was preparation. Now, here's the thing with preparation. As a part of my preparation for today's First Friday, I was given a very tight time window. And for those of you that know me, I kind of abuse the time window from time to time. And they told me that once we hit that time frame, they're cutting power. But the good news is, guys, I'm hotspotting off the mobile, so we don't have to worry about any of that. Time frame be damned. Here we go, right? But seriously, I wanted to talk about, the importance and the value of preparation and planning. And the whole idea is this. I think there's been a common thread for me in the training classes that I've conducted recently, because what I like to do day 2, day 3, and et cetera, and during parts is check in, right? So what are your takeaways? What did you find valuable from yesterday, and et cetera, et cetera. And I think the most common thing that I hear from people is the importance of preparation, the importance of planning out the interview process. And one of the things that we've really put an effort into planning is actually creating templates to help you guys with your preparation. I'm going to talk about some of those things that can be very valuable to you within the planning and preparation stage, and why it becomes so important to us during the investigative interview process. And it goes well beyond planning what questions I need to ask. There's a lot of things to consider that could be very, very valuable to you. I want to share those things here with you today. So just checking in with chat here real fast. I have, just so you guys are aware, it's good to see some friendly faces there. Thanks for checking in, guys. Just so you guys are aware, we will, at the end of the session, I'll try to pop into the chat here real quick, a quick link which will give you guys access to our Instructor Insights page, so that you guys will be able to, get a little piece of collateral from us. They'll say here's some of that. So let me see if this will work for you. Throw that in there. When it comes to preparation, we got to go beyond preparing, like I said, the questions. And so there's a couple things to consider here. What I'm going to do is pop up a quick little PowerPoint for you guys, and I hope this works. Fingers crossed, guys. Whole idea here is I'm going to give you a little background and help you understand where this comes from, right? Where is it rooted? And there's a couple things that we look at when it comes to strategizing and planning the interview, and we can see the importance of planning and preparation is even rooted into some very well-known and globally accepted investigative interview framework. For instance, some of you might be familiar with PEACE. PEACE, the PEACE method of investigative interview, and to me, it's not really a method as much as it's a framework. And the framework provides a great deal of insight to us of how to properly approach an investigative interview. And PEACE is broken down into an acronym. The basics of that acronym start off with, the preparation and planning, the engage, get there and count, closure, and then, of course, evaluation. But I want to focus on that P today, that first P in PEACE, the preparation planning that goes along with this. It goes into a few different things. PEACE kind of reminds us that we need to do things like prepare the interview selection, the environment, maybe legal considerations, subject background to the investigation. I'll take a little deeper dive on this here in just a second. But PEACE is designed, this framework is designed to maximize the investigative value of the interview process. And it starts off with having proper planning and preparation, right? The other one is the Mendez principles. And if you guys are familiar with the Mendez principles, that's fantastic. If you're not, I encourage you to look it up. The Mendez principles, also known as the principles of effective interviewing for investigations and information gathering, comes from the UN, and the Mendez principles are based upon six principles that are designed for legal safeguards and to create a non-coercive interview environment. The second of those six principles is based on practice. And one of the things that's mentioned in the section of on practice, it is item number 57, if you take the time to read through the Mendez principles, it very clearly states effective interviewing process will involve thorough planning and preparation. But what does that mean to us, right? What is the type of planning and preparation we need to go to? We look at the foundation of where this comes from and what we want to do. There's a couple things that we consider here, right? So planning and preparation, some of the things that happen, for instance, that we learn from both Peace and the Mendez principles fit into, and the takeaways, there's some consistent messaging within the framework of both. It falls into, what is the purpose of the interview? We need to make sure we all background information, not only in the investigation, but on our subject, right? We want to make sure we have details of the person being interviewed. What is their role in this? The aim and objective of the interview. Understand and recognize what points you're making an effort to prove. What evidence does exist? Where was it obtained? What evidence is now needed or information would be needed? How can we go about obtaining that? Any legal aspects or guidelines, again, venue, exhibit seating. And so we can see some consistency within the messaging from both Peace and the Mendez principles. But if we take time to look at some of the considerations that we, as either law enforcement professionals and investigators investigating compliance, audit, workplace wrongdoing, hostile work environment, integrity issues, etc. There's a number of considerations that we have to apply and that we can learn from foundations and frameworks like the Mendez principles and Peace and etc. Right? We look at a few things that you see on the screen here. Again, kind of focusing on, and I'll go into a couple things here, legal aspects. What is the best environment? What role is the subject within the investigation? Are they a victim, a witness, a suspect? I want full backgrounds. We're going to determine what the purpose is, select the appropriate methods, strategize, and et cetera, right? But considering all of these different things, think of it like this. When you sit down to prepare an interview and strategize the interview, I think one of the first things that we would look at is what are the rules of engagement as a part of this investigative process here, right? Are there notifications that are required? What rights does the individual have? Is it custodial? Is it non-custodial? How far in advance do I need to provide notifications? If it's a corporate environment, do they have the right to a witness present? Union rights, perhaps, if you're in that environment and in that space. Depending on the age, depending on vulnerabilities of my subject that I'm interviewing, should they have a parent, a guardian, someone like this that is present? But there's a number of different legal aspects and notifications that you guys need to be aware of. And taking the time to plan that out becomes very, very important to the outcome of the interview. I think one of the biggest messages that we want to send throughout the investigative interview process is understanding, should your interview be challenged down the road for whatever reason, do you have an answer for that challenge? And have you made good business decisions to effectively gather information during the investigative interview? And part of that are those legal considerations that we have depending on your environment. Take the time to understand what they might be, and actually the rules that apply to every sort of legal aspect that is a part of this interview, this conversation you're about to have. Some of the factors that go into that would be, going into the next piece here, the idea of the room setting. Think about venue, the time of the interview, the location. How do I get my subject there? If I'm in a corporate environment, oftentimes I get the question about, well, Chris, how do we bring them back to the office? What's the best practice of that? So even consider that. How do I engage them? When it comes to venue, do I want to do things like a remote interview versus, let's say, having a face-to-face? And if I want to do remote, what are the benefits of that? I think one of the great things of the benefit of having a remote interview and talking to someone, whether it is phone or video conferencing, but specifically a phone interview, is having access to resources and actually planning, preparing your interview and having those resources out in front of you. A list of questions, a list of topics, reminding yourself of things that become very, very important. And you could have that in front of you within that remote interview and, again, effectively work through with stuff in front of you. Very much like I have in front of me right now, reminding me of a couple of things I want to be talking about. Right? When we consider the role of the individual within the interview, are they a victim? Are they a witness? Could they be a potential suspect? In the corporate world and hostile work environment, are they complainant? Again, a witness, a possible respondent that is involved in this issue that we're investigating. We have to consider a lot of different things when we look at the background of my subject. I'm going to consider things like, have they been exposed to any elements of trauma? And if they have, then I have to understand how that may impact how I approach the interview. Do I approach it trauma-informed so that I have much more compassion and empathy, understanding how that could impact memory, their willingness to answer questions, provide information, etc. So thinking through, are they trauma? Do they fit into a vulnerable class, age, education levels and other things like this that could be considered vulnerable, and making considerations to them to have someone available, and etc. So there's preparation that goes into the background of my subject. What role do they play in this investigation, and what information am I trying to gather from them? Within this process, right? When we talk about the background, it is always the background of the issue, so I know what exactly I'm going after. Why am I having this interview? What information becomes important for this investigative interview, as well as the background of my subject. And when I look at the background of the subject, once again, considering things not only their role, but what do I know about them? Understanding a little bit more about the subject could also put me in a position to have and develop better strategies around rapport building. One of the questions that I always asked when it came to preparing, what do I know about the person that I need to engage with, was what were their hobbies? What are their likes, their dislikes, their passions? What are things that I can create a connection and rapport over? I also often ask the question, particularly in the corporate world, of how do they handle discipline? And I want to be prepared for, are they quick to become defensive? Therefore, I prepare strategies to overcome a lack of cooperation, perhaps, and maintaining elements of rapport, maintaining open communication through what times could be a difficult conversation. But think about strategies around rapport, strategies around empathy, and things that we consider within the process to encourage cooperation, encourage openness, accurate information coming from our subject, etc. And then ultimately have a goal to your interview. Talk with a purpose. Write down the goals sometimes. But one of the keys to doing this is being open-minded to every bit of information that could come forward. We have to be fluid in the conversation, not being so focused, so myopic that we're just focusing on, I have to get this information. Maybe the information that you're seeking is based upon your bias or upon assumptions, and it's not accurate information. So be open-minded within all of this and be fluid in the conversation to make sure we can transition around a variety of different goals and et cetera. We also look at the different methods. Is it a fact gathering? Do I need to do a cognitive? Should I have a Q&A approach to this? What is my Q&A approach? And be flexible throughout the entire process. And when you're strategizing your interviews and coming up with an interview plan, sit down and actually take time to map things out. In other words, what we want to do is actually be open-minded to and think about the potential of explanations, excuses. Is there a possible reason why this could have happened? Be open-minded to it. What that does is it helps us eliminate any issues related to a confirmation bias, going in with assumptions too often. And what that can help us do is overcome misclassification errors, contamination errors, and other things that become concerning to us, right? The bottom line here, guys, is prepare your strategies. And one of the things that I love about what we do and on our website, you guys can find it, is we prepare and we actually have templates that help you prepare empathy strategies around report, preparing an interview, mapping out questions. One of the things that we even look at when we sit down to prepare our interview is we do an investigative profile to say, what information do I have? What information am I seeking? What explanations are there? And it actually leads us down a path to say, this is probably the best interview approach to gain the information that I'm seeking within this conversation. Take the time to consider all of these things, and you can actually have quite a successful interview, achieving the goals that you're after, again, being open-minded, et cetera. And a quick summary, and again, thank goodness for streaming, right? They haven't hit the power yet. What we have to do is take the time for preparation so that we can, in fact, set ourselves up for success. Take the time to, slow things down, take a breath, make sure we're approaching things pragmatically and with an open mind. Determine who needs to be interviewed, why they need to be interviewed, what you're seeking, and make sure you're a conduit to cooperation, truthfulness, and etc. And always remember the 6 Ps. I learned from a very good friend of mine, Alan, the 6 Ps, which of course is proper planning. Wait, am I saying this right? Prior planning. That's what he says. Prior planning prevents piss poor performance, right? So remember those 6 Ps. And so, guys, I appreciate you hanging out with me here for a few minutes on your first Friday. Let me get back to this, and I hope you do have some good takeaways that you can quickly apply and find value in the conversations that we have. Did this go? Hang on a second here. Around your first Friday and providing these tips of instructor insights and everything. As a son of a high school football coach, you always prepare. Got to have a game plan. Got to have a strategy if you want to be successful. Guys, take the time to prepare. Take the time to have a strategy. Just a quick jump in here, and I'm gonna throw that link in there one more time for you guys, so you have access to our takeaways and to our instructor insights. Once again, good to see some smiling faces here. There we go. Sherm, good check in the office for you there regarding that. So if I can figure out how to stop sharing my screen here. Guys, again, I appreciate your input today, and I hope you got some great takeaways from today's session. And have a great Friday, great weekend, and a good new year as we approach, February and the early parts of the month here. And good luck to you guys. Great seeing you. And take care of yourselves. Again, yeah, guys. Cheers.